The smell hit me first, gas. Sweet and deadly seeping through December air like poison perfume. They had just slammed the door in my face. Told me I did not fit their family image. 400 people inside, laughing, eating, dinner, children playing games, all of them breathing death without knowing it. The woman who rejected me, Mrs. Patricia Whitmore, was about to become the most hated person in America. The children she claimed to protect were about to become headlines. And me, the homeless man she dismissed, was the only one who could save them all. But here is what she did not know. I used to be Deputy Fire Chief Mason Hartwell. 3 years ago, I lost my wife and son in a fire just like this one. Tonight, I get my chance at redemption. Comment below where you are reading this from. You are about to witness what happens when corruption meets courage, when the broken system faces a broken man who refuses to let children die twice. The Millbrook Community Center stood before me like a monument to everything I had once protected. Brick facade hiding steel frame construction, the same 1,982nd design that haunted my dreams for 3 years now. Large windows that would channel flames upward if fire started below. Narrow hallways that became death traps when people panicked. I knew because I had seen it before. Through those windows, children played in the evening program. A blonde girl, maybe 8 years old, laughed at something her friend whispered. The sound pierced through the December cold and found the exact spot in my chest where Danny used to live. My son would have been 11 now. Same bright laughter, same way of tilting his head when something amused him. My hand trembled as I reached for the door handle. Not from the cold, not from the flask hidden in my coat pocket that I had not touched in 2 months. This trembling came from somewhere deeper, the place where fathers carry the weight of children they could not save. Mason Hartwell, 48 years old, former deputy fire chief, current resident of whatever shelter would take me. 3 years ago, I designed safety systems to prevent apartment fires. 3 years ago, my wife Linda and 8-year-old son Danny died in the Riverside apartments while I was across town, responding to a kitchen grease fire that did not matter. Guilt has a way of burning through a man faster than any flame. I was not just seeking shelter tonight. These children drew me here, their voices calling through the winter air like Danny used to call from his bedroom when thunderstorms scared him. Every building I entered now, I automatically assessed for dangers. Every child I saw, I wondered if their father would make it home to kiss them goodnight. The warmth hit me as I stepped inside. Institutional heating mixed with the smell of dinner being served somewhere deeper in the building. Families gathered around tables, elderly people playing cards, teenagers clustered near a television showing some reality program. Normal evening at a community center. Normal people living normal lives while I stood in the doorway carrying the weight of all the normal lives I had failed to save. Mrs. Patricia Whitmore emerged from an office-marked administration. 52 years old, silver hair styled to suggest competence without threatening authority. She had the look of someone who had convinced herself that managing resources efficiently was the same as serving the community. Her rejection would not come from personal hatred, but from class-based disgust mixed with fear of what I might know. "Sir, we have protocols for intake. This is family-oriented facility." She did not look directly at me as she spoke. Her eyes focused somewhere over my left shoulder, the way people look at problems they hope will disappear if ignored long enough. Behind her, 3 people watched our interaction with varying degrees of discomfort. Emma Chen, 19 years old, UConn journalism student volunteering for a class project. She recognized injustice when she saw it, but did not yet understand the full context. Doctor. Sarah Kim, 41, worked part-time covering evening medical needs. Something familiar nagged at her when she looked at me, a memory trying to surface. Tom Peterson, 56, had maintained this building for 8 years. His nervous shifting suggested he recognized my voice from somewhere but could not make the connection. "I understand procedures, ma'am. I am just asking for one night. I can help with anything you need, cleaning, serving food, maintenance work." Emma started to speak, but Mrs. Whitmore cut her off with sharp efficiency. "Miss Chen, please check on the children's program." The dismissal stung Emma more than me. I had grown accustomed to being dismissed. What bothered me was the children in the background still playing, still laughing, still vulnerable to the kind of bureaucratic negligence that had killed my family. "Perhaps the downtown mission would be more appropriate, Mrs. Whitmore continued. "We have limited space here for individual cases. Individual cases. As if homelessness was a disease that might spread to the families she served. As if my presence somehow threatened the normalcy she worked to maintain. Doctor." Kim stepped forward slightly, her memory finally clicking into place. She had seen my profile before, recognized the set of my shoulders from that night 3 years ago when I pulled her from a smoke-filled hallway while the Riverside apartments collapsed around us. She started to speak, then stopped, confused by my current situation. Tom Peterson's recognition came more slowly. He knew my voice from safety meetings, remembered heated arguments about cutting corners and prioritizing safety over budget concerns. The guilt in his expression suggested he remembered being forced to implement substandard repairs that I had specifically warned against. As I turned to leave, professional habit took over. My trained eye automatically cataloged problems that civilian residents would never notice. Electrical smell, the sharp ozone scent of overloaded circuits. Gas odor near the loading dock, faint but persistent. Emergency exit sign, dark battery, probably dead for months. And the children still playing on the second floor where I knew emergency egress had been compromised by budget cuts. That blonde girl reminded me so much of Danny. Same way he laughed at cartoons on Saturday mornings before Linda made pancakes and I pretended to read the newspaper while actually watching him build elaborate cities with his blocks. Every sound she made was Danny's voice echoing across 3 years of silence. I fought the urge to force my way back inside to grab Mrs. Whitmore by her efficient shoulders and make her understand that protocols matter less than protecting the innocent. But forced entry would only confirm her assumptions about homeless men being dangerous. Better to walk away with dignity intact. The December air cut through my jacket as I circled the building perimeter. Not investigating, just walking off frustration and trying to silence Danny's voice in my head. The loading dock door stood propped open, metal chocks, holding it wide despite the cold. Tom probably left it that way because the heating system was inadequate. People were cold inside, so he improved ventilation the only way he could. Good intentions that accidentally masked the gas leak smell building up in the basement. I knelt beside the gas meter outside the building. 20 years of experience taught me to read the numbers automatically. Flow rate higher than normal operational range. Not immediately dangerous, but concerning trend, suggesting possible leak in the main supply line. As I stood there, calculating whether to call the fire department or mind my own business, electrical systems inside the building fluctuated. Lights dimmed in the children's area, then brightened, then dimmed again. Through the basement windows, I could see fluorescent fixtures struggling to maintain steady illumination. My flip phone, the only communication device I could afford, showed a missed call from the grief counselor. Tomorrow marked 3 years since Linda and Danny died. 3 years since I learned that being right about safety protocols means nothing if you are not there when disaster strikes. But right now, helping these children felt more important than wallowing in anniversary grief. Danny's imagined voice whispered in the winter wind, "Daddy, there are kids inside. When your child dies in a fire you could have prevented, you do not get to walk away from the next one." I made it exactly 93 steps from those doors before my dead son's voice stopped me cold. "Daddy, there are kids inside. When your child dies in a fire, you could have prevented, you do not get to walk away from the next one." Emma Chen stood outside taking her evening break, scrolling through her phone with the distracted focus of someone avoiding the chaos inside. 19 years old journalism student, probably writing about local government for some assignment her professor would grade and forget. She had the look of someone who believed stories mattered. "Excuse me, miss. I know this sounds strange, but I used to work in fire safety. I am concerned about some things I noticed about this building." She looked up from her phone, curiosity replacing annoyance. "What kind of things?" "Gas smell near the loading dock, electrical issues, emergency lighting problems." I kept my voice calm, factual. Not the rantings of a homeless man, but the observations of someone who understood how buildings killed people. Emma's expression shifted. She had been volunteering here 3 weeks, working on some investigation into local government spending. The state awarded a big safety grant last year, but she had not seen any new safety equipment, just fresh paint over old problems and exit signs that did not work. "I need an expert source for my story. You need inside access to assess the real danger. Not conspiracy, just mutual benefit." The alliance formed that simply. She needed credibility, I needed entry. Neither of us mentioned the children playing upstairs, or the way institutional buildings became death traps when people cut corners to save money. 7:30 brought shift change. Evening supervisor was a college kid who did not question Emma's authority when she introduced me as someone the volunteer coordinator wanted to meet. Mrs. Whitmore had left for the day, taking her protocols and procedures with her. Tom Peterson recognized me before I said a word. "Jesus Christ, Chief Hartwell. What are you doing here?" The maintenance supervisor stood frozen in the basement doorway, wrench still in his hand from whatever repair he had been attempting. 8 years he had worked this building. 8 years of documentation proving that safety took second place to budget constraints. I kept documentation, he said quietly. Figured someday somebody would get hurt and I would need proof I tried to do the right thing. His personal notebook contained 8 years of maintenance requests, denied safety issues, ignored repairs, done with inadequate materials, because proper fixes cost too much. Gas line connections jury-rigged with hardware store fittings. Carbon monoxide detectors disabled because residents complained about false alarms. Commercial kitchen equipment with damaged connections that should have been replaced years ago. Emma took photos while Tom explained. Exhaust systems barely functional. Emergency lighting batteries dead for months. Fire extinguishers expired and never replaced. Exit doors so warped they required shoulder pressure to open properly. This was not conspiracy. This was simple negligence, the kind that killed people every day in buildings across America because someone decided safety was too expensive. In the children's area upstairs, I found crayon drawings taped to walls. My Family by Sarah, age 7. Mommy and Daddy and little girl holding hands under a yellow sun. The same type of drawing Danny used to make before refrigerator magnets held his artwork, and our world still made sense. Doctor. Kim approached while I studied the children's artwork. You are Deputy Chief Hartwell. You saved my life at the Riverside fire. Former Deputy Chief, I corrected, and I was not fast enough to save everyone that night. She understood the pain in my voice because she carried her own memories of that disaster. Medical training had taught her to notice patterns other people missed. Unusual respiratory problems among regular attendees, symptoms suggesting poor air quality that she had reported to Mrs. Whitmore months ago. I was told I was being overly cautious, Doctor, Kim said. The alliance expanded naturally. Emma with her investigative instincts. Dr. Kim with her medical concerns. Tom with his mechanical knowledge and 8 years of documentation. Me with safety expertise and nothing left to lose. As we talked, the building's electrical system fluctuated again. Lights dimmed throughout the first floor, then brightened with intensity that made fluorescent tubes hum louder than normal. Through basement vents, the gas smell had grown stronger. My professional estimate said dangerous accumulation within 6 to 8 hours. Mrs. Whitmore would return tomorrow morning with lawyers and excuses. Tonight we had truth. Tomorrow we would have cover-up. We need to document everything now, I decided. By tomorrow, she will have explanations for every problem we found. Emma started recording with her phone, broadcasting to her 47 followers on some social media platform. Live from Millbrook Community Center investigation. Possible safety violations putting hundreds at risk. Initial reaction was disappointing. Chat showed only 12 viewers, mostly classmates, making jokes about Emma documenting another boring government story. Important stories did not automatically go viral. Reality was harder than Hollywood suggested. But Tom had 8 years of written evidence. Dr. Kim had medical incident reports. Emma had financial documents showing $340,000 in state safety grants, with only $48,000 spent on actual improvements. The remaining $292,000 had gone to Whitmore Consulting Services, a company registered to Mrs. Whitmore's husband. The main electrical panel made a buzzing sound, loud enough to hear through basement walls. Several families noticed lights flickering but assumed old building normal problems. They did not understand that normal problems became fatal when ignored long enough. I faced the same choice my profession had trained me for: continue gathering evidence or evacuate immediately. My firefighter training said evacuate. My trauma from losing family said do not let children die for political reasons. Footsteps on stairs interrupted my decision. Mrs. Whitmore's voice carried down from the main floor. Emma, Tom, what are you still doing here? She was not supposed to return tonight. Security company must have called about unusual activity after hours. We had been caught investigating, and Mrs. Whitmore had the power to have us arrested for trespassing. She could discredit our evidence and continue covering up safety problems. The children were still in danger, but now the people trying to protect them faced legal consequences that would silence us permanently. You know that feeling when you are in a group project and realize nobody else sees the house burning down. That was me, Emma, Tom, and Dr. Kim at 8:47 p.m. standing in a building full of families, knowing we were probably the only ones who understood how much danger they were in. Emma's journalism training kicked in faster than mine. She organized systematic evidence collection while I was still processing Mrs. Whitmore's unexpected return. Photos of safety violations. Tom's maintenance records, Dr. Kim's health reports, my technical assessments. Everything documented before anyone could make it disappear. The financial trail was simple and damning. Community Center received $340,000 in state safety grants during 2023. Emma found receipts showing only $48,000 spent on actual improvements. Cosmetic sprinkler head covers that did not connect to water supply. Fresh exit signs that had no power source. Paint over damaged walls that should have been rebuilt. The missing $292,000 went to Whitmore Consulting Services for safety compliance consulting and regulatory assessment services. Company registered to Patricia Whitmore's husband. Same address as their home. No employees, no office, no actual services provided. Tom's evidence proved the pattern. His personal notebook documented every safety issue, reported every repair request denied, every time he was told to make do with materials that violated code. 8 years of trying to maintain a building while being forced to ignore problems that could kill people and doctor. Kim's medical documentation showed 17 cases of respiratory problems among regular attendees in the past 6 months. Coughing, headaches, dizziness, classic symptoms of poor ventilation and possible carbon monoxide exposure. She had filed reports. Mrs. Whitmore dismissed them as seasonal allergies. We face the same choice that destroys good people every day. Call fire inspector, but Mrs. Whitmore had political connections who might cover up problems. Contact media, but who would believe a college student and homeless man making accusations? Evacuate the building, but without authority we would cause panic and face legal problems. Wait until tomorrow, but gas leak was getting worse every hour. My personal conflict was simple. My family died because someone else made safety decisions based on convenience instead of protection. Now, I was in position to prevent similar tragedy, but speaking up might expose me to retaliation from Mrs. Whitmore's political network that had already destroyed my career once. Emma's idealism cut through our hesitation. Isn't this exactly why journalism exists? To hold powerful people accountable? Dr. Kim's medical ethics provided clarity. I took oath to first do no harm. If I know people are in danger and do nothing, I violate everything I believe. Tom's working-class reality was harshest. I got mortgage kids in college. I speak up, I lose job. But if someone dies because I kept quiet, I lose everything that matters. We decided together. Document everything tonight, then Emma would publish her story tomorrow while Tom and Dr. Kim filed formal complaints. I would provide technical expertise to make the case undeniable. Not conspiracy, just people doing what was right. 8:50 p.m. brought situation deterioration. Gas smells stronger throughout basement level. Electrical fluctuations more frequent and severe. Building's heating system cycling irregularly, putting additional stress on compromised gas lines that Tom had been forced to patch with inadequate materials. My professional assessment was grim. Current conditions meant dangerous gas accumulation by midnight. Any electrical spark, static discharge, even someone lighting cigarette outside could trigger explosion that would kill hundreds. Emma started live streaming with her phone broadcasting to her social media followers. Live from Millbrook Community Center investigation. Possible safety violations putting hundreds at risk. Initial reaction was disappointing but realistic. Chat showed only 12 viewers, mostly classmates, making jokes about Emma documenting another boring government story. Important revelations did not automatically become viral content. Social media required luck and timing that we might not have. But her professor joined the stream and started sharing to journalism contacts. Numbers began climbing slowly. 23 viewers, then 37, then 54. Comments shifted from mockery to concern as Emma explained what we had discovered. The main electrical panel made buzzing sound loud enough to vibrate through basement walls. Several families upstairs noticed lights flickering but assumed normal old building problems. They did not understand that normal problems became fatal emergencies when ignored by people who prioritize profit over safety. My decision point was simple. Continue gathering evidence while building became more dangerous, or evacuate immediately and lose chance to prove Mrs. Whitmore's crimes. My firefighter training said, evacuate everyone now. My trauma from losing Danny and Linda said, do not let children die because adults made bad decisions about money. As I weighed options that could determine whether hundreds of people lived or died, we heard footsteps descending basement stairs. Mrs. Whitmore's voice carried authority and anger in equal measure. Emma, Tom, what are you still doing here? She was not supposed to return tonight, but security company had called about unusual activity detected on surveillance cameras. She had been watching us gather evidence for 20 minutes, calculating how to manage the situation without admitting problems existed. Mrs. Whitmore appeared at bottom of stairs, not panicked or surprised, but coolly assessing how to control 4 people who had discovered her crimes. Behind her, Building's electrical system surged again, lights throughout first floor, brightening dangerously before dimming to emergency levels. Gas leak was worsening. Evidence was documented. Children were still in danger upstairs. And now the person responsible for creating this deadly situation stood between us and any chance of getting those families to safety. The confrontation I had been dreading was about to begin with 400 innocent lives hanging in the balance. Mrs. Whitmore found us in her basement, with evidence of her crimes and a gas leak that could kill everyone upstairs. But here's the thing about corrupt politicians. They are always more afraid of getting caught than of people getting hurt. She descended the stairs calmly, having watched us on security monitors for 20 minutes. Not surprised or panicked, just calculating how to manage a situation that threatened her carefully constructed lies. Tom, you are supposed to be off duty. Emma visiting hours ended 2 hours ago. And you. She studied me with the cold assessment of someone evaluating a problem to be solved. I do not believe we have met. Emma tried to take control of the conversation before I could respond. Mrs. Whitmore, we have discovered serious safety violations and evidence of financial impropriety. As journalism student, I am obligated to report these findings to appropriate authorities. Miss Chen, you are 19 years old volunteer who has been accessing areas where you were not authorized. That is called trespassing. Her strategy was textbook political damage control. Reframe legitimate concerns as criminal behavior by the accusers. Make us look like troublemakers attacking a respected community institution instead of people trying to prevent deaths. Tom supported Emma with quiet dignity that came from 8 years of watching safety problems get worse. Ma'am, these issues are real. I have been trying to get your attention about them for months. My documentation proves I followed proper procedures for reporting hazardous conditions. Tom, you have been performing maintenance according to budget constraints we all face. Any implications of wrongdoing are serious accusations that could damage this community center's reputation and future funding. She was not threatening us directly, just reminding everyone that their livelihoods depended on her goodwill. Classic intimidation disguised as reasonable concern for the institution she had been systematically looting. Mrs. Whitmore, I am Mason Hartwell, former deputy fire chief. I am here because I am concerned about immediate safety hazards in this building that could endanger the families upstairs. Her recognition was instant and calculating. The former deputy chief who was terminated for alcohol-related issues. Are you currently intoxicated, Mr. Hartwell? Character assassination was her preferred weapon. Attack credibility instead of addressing evidence. Make my homelessness and past struggles the story instead of her financial crimes and safety violations. He has been completely professional, Emma defended me. His technical knowledge helped us identify problems that put people at risk. His personal situation does not change the fact that this building has dangerous conditions that require immediate attention. Miss Chen, this man was fired for falsifying safety reports. His concerns are either unreliable due to his condition or deliberate harassment due to his termination. Either way, his accusations cannot be considered credible. Ma'am, regardless of my personal situation, gas leak in this basement is immediate danger to everyone in this building. I am asking you to call fire department for professional assessment. There is no gas leak, she stated flatly. This building passed all required inspections. Any claims otherwise are false alarms from someone who is not mentally stable. Doctor. Kim entered the conversation with medical authority that Mrs. Whitmore could not easily dismiss. Actually, I can smell the gas too. And I have documented respiratory problems among our attendees that suggest serious ventilation issues. Dr. Kim, you are part-time employee, not building engineer. Medical issues could have many causes. Jumping to conclusions about building safety based on unrelated symptoms is irresponsible. Her position was weakening, but she continued deflecting instead of addressing evidence. 4 people now confirmed problems she claimed did not exist. Her denials were becoming harder to maintain. As we argued, building's electrical system surged dangerously. Lights brightened with intensity that made everyone squint, then dimmed to levels barely adequate for navigation. Electrical humming through walls became loud enough to require raised voices. Mrs. Whitmore, personal issues aside, this building has immediate electrical problems. Combined with gas leak, we are looking at potential explosion that could kill hundreds of people. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face. She could dismiss individual complaints from people she considered unreliable, but pattern of evidence from multiple sources was harder to ignore. Her political instincts told her to maintain denial, but her survival instincts recognized genuine danger. Emma had been recording our entire conversation on her phone. Viewer count climbed to 89 as her journalism professor shared the stream with colleagues who understood the significance of what they were witnessing. Comments shifted from curiosity to alarm, as viewers realized they were watching potential disaster unfold in real time. Mrs. Whitmore noticed Emma's phone and realized her words were being broadcast beyond this basement. Her carefully controlled narrative was escaping into public domain where she could not manage or spin it. Fine, she decided. Tom shut off main gas line. We will say we are doing routine maintenance while investigating these concerns. Ma'am, shutting off gas without proper procedure could cause pressure spike in damaged lines. We need utility company to do it safely with proper equipment and protocols. Her desperation was showing. Quick fixes to make problems disappear, instead of addressing root causes that had created the danger. The same thinking that had led to this crisis was driving her response to it. Mrs. Whitmore reached for her phone to call someone who might help her manage this situation, but electrical panel 20 feet away erupted in shower of sparks. Emergency lighting kicked in as main power failed throughout the building. Gas leak now had potential ignition source in confined space filled with flammable vapor. In dim red emergency lighting, 4 people who had been arguing about blame and responsibility suddenly faced immediate threat that made politics irrelevant. Above us, 400 people continued their evening activities unaware that their lives now depended on decisions made by people they had never met in a basement they had never seen. There is a moment in every disaster when everyone stops arguing about who is to blame and starts focusing on who might live. We just hit that moment with 400 people above us and flames starting to climb the walls. The electrical panel explosion was not Hollywood dramatic. Realistic failure, with sparks landing in gas-saturated air near the basement furnace. Small flame ignited spread along gas line toward main supply connection. Physics and chemistry working together to turn Mrs. Whitmore's corruption into lethal reality. Everyone out of basement now, I commanded with 20 years of authority in my voice. Mrs. Whitmore, we need building evacuation announcement immediately. Her moment of truth arrived faster than her political instincts could process. She could not spin electrical fire or negotiate with combustion chemistry. The situation had moved beyond her ability to control through denial and deflection. What do I tell people, she asked. Tell them, electrical problem requires evacuation. Do not mention gas. Might cause panic and stampede that kills more people than fire. We climbed stairs to main floor, where building's emergency lighting barely functioned. People noticed power outage, but not immediate danger. Children continued playing games in dim red illumination. Adults assumed brief electrical problem that maintenance would fix quickly. Tom's expertise became crucial. Main gas shutoff is outside building. I can turn it off, but will not stop gas already leaked inside basement. That vapor needs time to dissipate or ventilate before it becomes safe. My assessment was grim. Fire will follow electrical conduits up through walls. Estimate 8 to 10 minutes before first floor becomes dangerous. Need orderly evacuation through main exits before smoke and heat make escape impossible. Mrs. Whitmore made announcement over battery-powered public address system. Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing electrical difficulties. As precaution, we need everyone to evacuate calmly through main entrances. Realistic crowd response followed. Not immediate panic, but confusion and delay. Some people started leaving right away, others waited for clearer instructions. Parents gathered children slowly, elderly, moved with deliberate caution. Teenagers found the disruption interesting rather than alarming. Emma's livestream captured everything as it happened. Viewer count jumping rapidly as her professor shared the stream with local news contacts. 112 people now watching evacuation unfold in real time. Live evacuation at Millbrook Community Center. Possible electrical fire spreading. I organized traffic flow using voice that had carried authority for 2 decades of emergency response. Families with young children first. Everyone else help elderly and disabled residents. Keep moving, stay calm, help your neighbors. Problems emerged immediately. Main exit created bottleneck as 400 people tried to squeeze through single door designed for normal capacity. East emergency exit was locked because budget cuts had eliminated evening security guard who carried the key. West exit led to fenced parking area where gate was padlocked with no one authorized to open it. Tom volunteered to solve the mechanical problem. I will get bolt cutters from maintenance shop for West Gate. Give me 3 minutes. Doctor. Kim coordinated medical assistance for several elderly attendees who needed help moving, and one woman having anxiety attack from crowd noise and emergency lighting. Her medical training kept people calm while I focused on evacuation logistics. My emotional crisis hit when that blonde girl who reminded me of Danny approached through the confused crowd. She was scared by the emergency situation and adult voices discussing problems she did not understand. "Mister, what is happening?" she asked. I knelt to her level, making eye contact the way I used to with Danny when he needed reassurance. "Just electrical problems, sweetie. We are going outside where it is safe. Can you help other kids stay calm and follow the adults?" My purpose crystallized in that moment. This was why I could not save my family 3 years ago. So I would have knowledge and experience to save these children tonight. Not revenge against Mrs. Whitmore or career redemption, simple mathematics of loss and meaning. Danny and Linda died so Mason would know how to keep these kids alive. Emma continued interviewing people as they evacuated, documenting their confusion and Mrs. Whitmore's attempts to minimize the situation. Stream viewers climbed past 200 as local news producer began messaging her for more detailed information about what was happening. Fire spread according to my professional prediction. Small flames became visible through basement windows. Smoke began seeping through first-floor vents as combustion consumed oxygen and produced toxic gases that would kill people faster than heat or flames. Tom returned with bolt cutters, but Westgate mechanism was more complex than expected. Industrial padlock with hardened steel that required hydraulic tools he did not have access to. Mrs. Whitmore tried calling fire department, but got busy signal because other emergencies were happening simultaneously across the city. Mason realized evacuation was too slow. Basic mathematics of disaster response. 400 people, 3 compromised exits, fire spreading faster than crowd could move safely. Main exit bottleneck meant people near the back would be trapped when smoke made navigation impossible. I faced the choice that defines every emergency responder: help individual children evacuate safely through main exit, or leave them temporarily to solve bottleneck problem that could trap everyone inside burning building. The decision was easier than I expected. Danny's imagined voice whispered the answer I already knew: save them all, Daddy. I could not rescue my son, but I could honor his memory by making sure every child in this building went home to their family tonight. This is where 20 years of training, 3 years of grief, and 1 moment of choice converge. I could save the kids right in front of me, or I could risk everything to save them all. Guess which one a father who lost his son would choose? Fire department sirens wailed in the distance, but they would not arrive before smoke made evacuation impossible. I had perhaps 6 minutes to solve a problem that could trap 280 people still inside. Main exit bottlenecked west gate, jammed east exit, locked fire spreading through electrical systems toward upper floors. Critical realization hit me as I scanned building layout from memory. Old freight elevator shaft converted to service stairs behind maintenance area. Not secret passage, just forgotten infrastructure that led directly to 2nd and 3rd floors. Could provide alternate evacuation route for people trapped upstairs when smoke filled main stairwell. The choice was brutally simple: leave building now with first wave of evacuees guaranteeing my safety, or go back inside to guide people through alternate route with high probability of death in smoke-filled building. Mrs. Whitmore, there is service stairway behind maintenance area. I can guide people from upper floors down alternative route. She objected with bureaucratic reflex, even as flames became visible through basement windows. "Mr. Hartwell, you are not authorized emergency personnel anymore. Insurance liability issues could expose the center to legal problems." Emma interrupted while broadcasting to 847 viewers who were watching former fire chief debate with corrupt politician while building burned around them. Stream has gone viral. Local news wants live coverage. Fire department arrived with 2 engines, ambulance, and Chief Patricia Torres, who recognized me immediately despite 3 years of separation. "Hartwell, what is your status assessment?" I reported with professional precision that felt like muscle memory returning. "Chief, 280 people still evacuating, fire and basement spreading to first floor electrical systems, main exit, bottlenecked alternative exits compromised. I know building layout, requesting permission to guide upper floor evacuation through service stairs." Despite my unofficial status, she recognized expertise when lives were at stake. "You are my building specialist on scene." Radio Channel 7. Get them out. Emma's livestream exploded as 1,200 viewers watched homeless man receive authority to save people who had rejected him hours earlier. Comments poured in expressing amazement, inspiration, and questions about why such an experienced professional was living on the streets. I entered burning building through maintenance entrance, staying low to avoid smoke accumulation near ceiling level. Emergency training took over completely. Wet cloth over nose and mouth following walls by touch when visibility dropped. breathing in controlled intervals to preserve oxygen. Service stairway access was exactly where building plans indicated. Behind maintenance area, converted freight shaft provided steep but functional passage to upper floors. Could handle 3 to 4 people at a time, safely enough capacity to evacuate trapped residents before smoke made descent impossible. 47 people trapped on second floor, mainly elderly from evening programs. 23 on third floor teenage activity group that had been playing games when evacuation started. Smoke was filling main stairwell, making normal exit route increasingly dangerous. Everyone listen. I am Deputy Fire Chief Hartwell. Follow me single file, stay calm, help person next to you. My authority carried weight of 2 decades, experience and current desperation of people who understood their lives depended on following instructions exactly. Technical expertise showed as I guided evacuation using knowledge of building ventilation systems, avoiding areas where smoke concentration was dangerous, timing movements between electrical explosions that sent sparks through hallways. First group evacuated safely through service stairs and maintenance exit. 47 elderly residents emerged to cheering crowd, while Emma's live stream captured emotional reunions of families who thought they had lost grandparents and parents to preventable disaster. I returned for second group, despite smoke inhalation that made breathing painful. Tom Peterson met me halfway up service stairs. Maintenance supervisor could not let me go alone into building that was becoming more dangerous every minute. Together we evacuated final group. 23 teenagers plus 2 adult supervisors all safely guided through service route that Mrs. Whitmore's budget cuts had nearly eliminated from building maintenance. Final rescue count was 400 people evacuated, 0 fatalities, minimal injuries from smoke inhalation and minor cuts from broken glass. Emma's live stream reached 3,400 viewers, watching live shared 847 times across social media platforms picked up by local news stations whose producers recognized compelling human interest story. Comments shifted from curiosity to admiration as viewers understood they were witnessing genuine heroism from someone society had discarded. This homeless man is a hero. Why is not he still fire chief? Someone needs to help this guy. Community members who had dismissed me hours earlier now understood who I really was. Not homeless drifter seeking handouts, but experienced professional who risked everything for their safety. Recognition came too late to prevent the crisis, but not too late to change how people thought about homelessness and human value. Mrs. Whitmore watched me emerge from burning building for final time, receiving oxygen treatment from paramedics, while families thanked me for saving their loved ones. She realized magnitude of her mistakes. Not just financial crimes that could be explained or minimized, but moral failures that had nearly caused deaths of people she was supposed to protect. Building was fully engulfed as fire department contained blaze and prevented spread to neighboring structures. Everyone was safe outside, but investigation was just beginning. Fire marshal would examine building, state authorities would review financial records. Emma's story would spread far beyond local community. That blonde girl approached me as paramedics treated my smoke inhalation. Thank you, mister. You saved my mommy too. I realized this was why I survived losing Danny. To be here when these children needed protection most. They say heroes do not do it for the recognition. That is true. But when recognition leads to justice and justice leads to change, and change means no other children will die in preventable fires, well, that is worth more than any parade. 72 hours after the fire, Emma's story appeared in Hartford Courant under headline, Homeless Hero Exposes Corruption Saves Hundreds. Article detailed my background safety warnings that had been ignored financial crimes Mrs. Whitmore had hidden behind bureaucratic procedures and political connections. State investigation launched within hours of publication. Auditor Michael Chen traced every dollar of the $340,000 safety grant confirmed. $292,000 had been diverted to Whitmore family accounts through fraudulent consulting contracts. Additional irregularities surfaced quickly. Meal program funds redirected to personal expenses. Utility assistance money spent on family vacations. Donated materials sold through private auctions with proceeds pocketed. Fire marshal's comprehensive report condemned the building due to multiple code violations that created deadly conditions. Investigation confirmed my original safety warnings had been accurate and specific. Tragedy was completely preventable if proper procedures had been followed instead of ignored for financial gain. Federal involvement escalated when FBI discovered state grant money had been systematically embezzled. Agent Lisa Park documented pattern of false compliance reports submitted to state agencies over 3 years. Mrs. Whitmore had not just stolen money, she had deliberately deceived inspectors about safety improvements that were never made. Mrs. Whitmore was arrested at her home while packing suitcases for sudden vacation to non-extradition country. Charges included embezzlement of $292,000, reckless endangerment with 400 counts, filing false reports to state agencies, and obstructing emergency response. Her husband faced co-conspirator charges for consulting, fraud, and money laundering. City Review Board examined my termination records and found allegations of alcohol abuse had been fabricated to remove someone who would not cooperate with corruption. Mayor David Kim issued public apology, offered full reinstatement with 3 years back pay, and implemented new whistleblower protections for safety personnel. Emma's journalism recognition came swiftly. Story won State Collegiate Journalism Award and earned internship offer at Boston Globe. Professor nominated her for National Investigative Reporting Scholarship based on work that demonstrated how local corruption endangers innocent lives. Social media response exceeded expectations. Emma's livestream reached 127,000 views within a week. GoFundMe page established by viewers raised $47,000 from people who had watched the rescue and wanted to help. Comments shared similar stories of government corruption and safety violations across the country. Community center response focused on ensuring tragedy would never be repeated. Temporary facility was established at high school gymnasium, while new building was designed with proper safety features. I was appointed voluntary safety consultant for construction project, with authority to halt work if standards were not met. Tom Peterson's vindication brought professional recognition he deserved. His maintenance documentation became crucial evidence in prosecution, proving he had tried repeatedly to address problems that supervisors ignored. He was promoted to safety supervisor for new facility with explicit authority to shut down operations if safety concerns arose. Dr. Kim's medical advocacy expanded beyond local impact. Her respiratory illness reports were cited in state legislation, requiring health monitoring at all public facilities. She was appointed to State Advisory Board on Environmental Health, where her experience with preventable medical problems influenced policy development. Personal healing came gradually through grief counseling that helped me process survivor guilt properly. Saving 400 people did not replace Danny and Linda, but gave meaning to loss that had seemed senseless. I established scholarship fund in their memory for children of firefighters killed in line of duty. 6 months later, I stood in uniform outside new Millbrook Community Safety Center designed with state-of-art fire suppression systems, multiple emergency exits, backup power, and safety features that exceeded all code requirements. Building represented transformation from corruption to accountability. That same blonde girl approached during opening ceremony, now recognizing me immediately as someone who had saved her family. Chief Mason Mommy says, "You are the hero who saved everyone." I knelt to her level, remembering Danny's face in hers, but no longer feeling pain that used to overwhelm me. Sweetheart heroes are people who help when help is needed. You can be hero too by caring about others and speaking up when something is wrong. Personal growth led to accepting position as Deputy Chief of Regional Fire Safety Division, responsible for public building inspections across county. Not seeking power or recognition, just prevention of tragedies like the one that took my family and nearly claimed 400 more lives. Mrs. Whitmore's sentencing brought appropriate justice. Federal court imposed 6 years prison and $350,000 restitution. State court added 3 years concurrent sentence and permanent ban from public service. Her husband received 4 years and $150,000 restitution for his role in fraudulent consulting scheme. Systemic changes emerged from investigation. New state legislation required independent safety inspections, financial auditing of all grant recipients, and whistleblower protection for safety complaints. Mason's Law ensured technical experts could not be silenced by political pressure or career retaliation. Emma continued investigative work as reporter covering government accountability, maintaining relationship with me as source for safety stories statewide. Her coverage helped expose similar corruption in other municipalities where officials prioritized profit over public safety. Final scene took place at New Elementary School, where I reviewed blueprints to ensure every safety measure was properly specified. I thought about Danny and Linda, imagined them proud of work being done to protect other families from preventable disasters. Sometimes, losing everything is the only way to discover what really matters. For me, it was never about buildings or budgets or positions. It was always about getting everyone home safe to the people who love them. Ever walked past someone and wondered what their story really is? That homeless man might be a former fire chief who could save your life. That woman with the cardboard sign might hold the key to solving problems you face daily. Society taught us to look away, but what if we've been missing extraordinary people disguised as ordinary struggles? Mason's story isn't unique. It's everywhere waiting to be discovered. Subscribe to Homeless Stories because the hero you need might be the person you least expect.